Hi there. Today I want to talk about a technique called stacking challenges. Now, by definition, all games involve challenges. So, definition of gameplay here: one or more causally linked series of challenges in a simulated environment, and that's from Ernest Adams. So, the issue as game designers that we always have is difficulty level. How do we make it difficult enough to be interesting and not too easy to be boring? So the challenges we face as designers: if it's too easy, it gets boring and your player quits. If it's too hard, it gets frustrating and your player quits, rage quits if you're unfortunate enough. So there are a number of ways to approach difficulty. One method is by actually stacking challenges. So stacking challenges is about breaking complex gameplay scenes apart into their individual challenges, and then providing individual gameplay scenes for each challenge, where the player gets to actually master the skills required to overcome that challenge. Once the player has mastered the skills required for multiple challenges, those challenges can then be stacked together to create a challenging but achievable scene. So it avoids those really difficult scenes that you get where you have multiple challenges coming together which you've never come across before. Now, the benefits of stacking challenges: number one, it provides a logical way to design your gameplay progression. So it's actually a methodology to help you actually design your gameplay. Number two, it reduces player frustration and the potential for rage quit. And number three, also increases the player's sense of achievement when they discover they can overcome some very challenging scenes in your game. So what can happen is that you come across something that looks very challenging, and the sense of achievement is when, as a player, you play through it and you realize that the game designer has done it so well that once you get to that very challenging area, you actually have all the skills you need to overcome it. It might still be hard, but you're not relearning skills, you're more refining your skills. So as an example, I just want to give you a scenario here. So as a game designer, I want the player to navigate their way across an open space while under fire from a sniper. They will need to hide behind various objects to avoid getting shot while sneaking up and getting under the sniper's position. Once there, they'll need to lob a grenade into the sniper's nest to neutralize the threat. Okay, so not an unlikely scenario. Now, if we have a look at it, what are the skills that are required to actually achieve that? There is quite a bit there, actually. So number one, stealth. They need to hide from the sniper while moving. Number two, they need to neutralize the sniper by lobbing a grenade into the sniper's nest. So there was two reasonably high-level skills that are required there. Now, I'm assuming that this is probably partway through a game, so basic combat is already understood, and of course the player knows how to move around and how to use grenades. So we have a couple of options in our approach. Now, number one is to throw the player in the deep end to face multiple challenges. Now, unfortunately, this happens a lot in games. There are various reasons why, and it's not always the designer's fault. Sometimes it's just due to time constraints. But if we do that, the player is going to need to master multiple challenges simultaneously. Now, that is really hard. That puts a lot of, psychologically, that puts a lot of pressure on a player. If they need to work out what's going on and need to understand a situation when they're facing multiple new challenges, even two, it's a lot harder than just facing those same challenges individually, mastering them, and then coming across them once they're mastered, stacked up together. So that's number one, which, as I say, does happen quite a lot. Number two is to break the challenges up and allow the player to master each skill individually and then stack those multiple challenges together. So stacking challenges, we can basically, if we want to do that, create additional scenes which lead up to our scenario. So if you find yourself with a complex scene and you think it's going to provide too many challenges at once, the idea is to break those up and provide the player with individual scenes that allow them to master each skill. So here, what we would do with this scenario is we would make 2 additional scenes before our more complex scene. So number 1 is the stealth scene, where they get to master the stealth skill, and number 2 is what I've called a sniper neutralization scene, where they get to master the sniper neutralization skill. Once they've mastered both of those skills, then we can combine them together, and it'll be a lot more fulfilling and more interesting and less frustrating potentially for your player. So let's have a look at an example from Half-Life 2, which does this really well. So this actually is the scenario that I gave you before. So if we have a look, we have a sniper killing a couple of crab head zombie type people. You'll see there, you can see the sight of the sniper. That's pretty important because it does tell the player that there is a sniper up there. We've supplied the player with some grenades, and we can look down there. We can see where that's coming from. And we also just found out what happens when, if we keep going down there, we get shot. So we lob our grenade up into the sniper's nest, and we neutralise the threat. Now this is a fair way through, so in Half-Life 2, so we already know how to use stealth. So that's the first scene where we now know how to neutralise a sniper. So in this scene, we come around the corner, we see the same blue line of sight again, so we know there's another sniper coming up. We know we've got to avoid this guy, because he'll kill us. And we have to navigate our way through a whole lot of debris on these train tracks, which also gives us cover. A couple of extra small challenges there. And we sneak up on his position. If we take a different route, we're going to get shot. And jump up into this carriage here. In case we don't have any grenades, supplied us with a few here. And again, I missed that time. Second time, lob a grenade. And we've neutralised the threat once again. So that's a good example of stacking those challenges rather than just throwing them at a player all at once.